He tried it.
So I built my very first gaming PC. First ever PC build in general. And one thing did go wrong, but I'm gonna get into that later. But for now, let me just do a quick intro and let's get right into it. What up, YouTube? It's your boy Mike, aka Kingman Like TG, Tech and Gaming, and I'm here at my very first video on the channel. I'm so excited to start this journey with you guys. I really wanted to do a PC build. It's my first time ever doing it. I work in the IT field. Yeah, this is IT. What you need?
My computer won't turn on.
Your computer won't turn on?
Yes.
Did you turn it off and turn it back on?
Yes, I tried that.
You already tried that? Did you blow on it?
Yes, of course. What am I, a dummy?
You already tried that too? Did you close your eyes, cross your fingers, and pray on it?
I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, try that.
Alright. Please, God. Wait, it hurts.
See, I got you. People be forgetting to pray on it, man.
Thank you.
No problem. God did.
Yes,
Don't forget.
God did. Next thing, sir.
Alright, you too. And I was really surprised with how many people don't build their own computers. I haven't asked too many people in my field, but I have asked a couple, and they usually just get a custom build and have someone else do it. So I didn't realize how low the percentage was of actual PC builders, and I wanted to get into streaming, gaming, and just sharing things related to the tech field with you guys on this channel, and just to have fun. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So throughout my journey, I used PC Part Picker, just look at different compatible PC parts while doing the build. One of the first things you want to ask yourself are, what are you going to be doing with this PC? Like gaming, productivity, is it for work? Are you rendering 3D models? Are you editing videos? So, you just want to have a good idea of what you're going to be doing. So you want to research a lot of different things specific to what your needs are going to be. So I looked up a lot of different, frames per second for gaming, for like 1440p is what I was shooting for. But always stick within your budget, never go over it. There's just some compromises you have to make. You may just want to go maybe heavier on the GPU price-wise, and spare some costs on the other parts. And I recommend channels like Jay's 2 Cents and Linus Tech Tips. They have some really great guides on how to build PCs. But I also recommend looking up specific installation guides for each individual part you have. For CPU, I went with the Ryzen 5600X. For the motherboard, I have the MSI Mag B550 Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi. For RAM, I went with 32 gigs of the Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro. I have the Corsair RM750 power supply. Have to go with the white aesthetic, And for choosing wattage, I recommend on sites like PC Part Picker, they have your estimated wattage. Go for 1.5 or double times that. I copped the 1TB Samsung 980 Pro for my boot drive. I went with liquid cooling. I have the Kraken Elite 240 RGB by NZXT. And let's just say this is the part that gave me the hardest time for unobvious reasons.
Oh no, this can't be.
What the f is this piece of shit?
And drum roll, please. Please, one at a time. Please make way for the star of the show, the Asus GeForce RTX 3070 Ti. No, not that Ti. Man, get out of here before they strike my video. Last but certainly not least, I went with the Fractal Design North Case. I just love that front wood panel. It's such a unique design. And of course, I had to go with the tempered glass panel. And I apologize guys for this over the shoulder type camera angle. I already filmed the whole thing kind of with these type of angles, and I have a ring light tripod, which I kind of discovered after the fact that maybe I could have put it on top of the table and face the camera down for those top down angles that you see in other videos. So I apologize for this, but I don't have a time machine, so it is what it is. Installing the CPU, you want to be extra careful and only hold it by the sides and avoid touching the pins at the bottom so you don't accidentally bend or break them, because if you do, it's game over, bro. To install it, just lift up the lever on the side and look for a little triangle symbol at one of the corners and align it with the triangle symbol on the CPU socket. You should be able to gently drop it in with zero resistance, and then you can close the lever and you're good to go. I'm excited that this build has an M.2 SSD since my last PC had a 2.5 SSD and some 3.5 HDDs. And although I didn't build that machine, I did take it apart when the motherboard died on me, so I got to look at those components. So this aspect is a little bit different for me. You may have a similar motherboard to me, but I have a PCIe 4 slot at the top and a PCIe 3 slot at the bottom, so that's why I'm installing the SSD in the top slot. The 4 basically just means it's faster. So your SSD might have already came with a heatsink. If it did, I recommend just using the one it came with. If not, just use the one on your motherboard. Once you unscrew it, you want to take off the plastic covering on the rubbery underside of the heatsink. And your motherboard should have come with an M.2 SSD mounting screw kit, which is basically a screw and a screw adapter that you can put another screw in to give it more elevation so the SSD is leveled out when installed. It looks like this for reference. So first you'll screw in the screw adapter, then insert the SSD, and then screw it in to securely fasten it. And this process may vary depending on your motherboard. Now your SSD is installed, just don't forget to put the heatsink back on. For some reason, I forgot to film unboxing the RAM on camera, but oh well. So personally, this may be one of my least favorite components to install just because of the amount of force it feels like it takes. It doesn't really take a lot of force, but it just kind of feels like you may be pushing a little too hard when installing the RAM. But depending on your motherboard, you may have one latch or two latches. Mine only has one, so you just want to make sure that one latch is clicking in when you push down. And make sure to pay very close attention to the notches on the bottom because they are technically different lengths and it will align on the DIMM slot for the RAM. So you just want to make sure you're aligning those notches correctly. Best believe I was praying on it when I opened this box because I didn't know what to expect after that last one. They really sent me a black non-RGB cooler, but it's all good, everything's straight now. So if you also have an AMD motherboard like me and you have liquid cooling, you have to take off these brackets before you put the cooler on. I believe you would also do this for air cooling, but I'm not sure. And just be careful because the back plate on the back side of the motherboard is attached by these brackets. So once you unscrew these, just be careful about that. And one thing that was a little bit annoying with the Kraken Elite liquid cooler is that by default it comes with an Intel bracket. Yeah, I know it makes sense in a way, but at the same time it doesn't make sense, but it's whatever. So you just want to make sure you follow the instructions based on your chipset. The AM4 and AM5 have slightly different instructions, but they should use the same bracket, but just make sure you follow those instructions. So here's where you'll see the difference between the AM4 and AM5 installation for the liquid cooler. Based on that, you will have to install these sleeves either upside or you have to flip them over. One side is AM4, one side is AM5. This is basically where I called it a day on the build. I could tell I was just way too tired. If you see in the clip, I'm trying to mount the motherboard into the case by screwing the mounting screws the left way, like counterclockwise. I'm going lefty-loosey here. I'm not going righty-tighty at all. So I knew it was 90-90. So here are all the connections for my power supply and all the cables. Now typically you will not need every single cable, but you have enough for what you need. So you will have some excess left over, so don't worry that you have some cables that you can just put back in the box. I actually even used an extra SATA cable that I did not need. And just for a breakdown of the different types of cables, you're going to have your SATA cables, which power the fans and the hard drive and solid state drives. Then you have the CPU power cable, which plugs into the motherboard. You have the 24-pin connector that also plugs into the motherboard, and the PCIe cables, which plug into the graphics card.
Alright, so my Fractal Design North case came with its own PSU screws, but then the Corsair PSU also had its own. So I guess you can use either or, but just because this isn't a Corsair case and my power supply is Corsair, I am going to feel more comfortable using the screws that came with the PSU.
So here's where you plug in the CPU power cable into the motherboard. I had to feed the cable through this access slot at the top, and okay, sorry about that. As I was saying, I don't like that it only has this one access slot at the top, but as I say, it is what it is. So I did struggle a little bit with bending the cable enough to twist around and plug into the slot, but I have heard that being a complaint with the Corsair cables. But I worked with what I had, and what's cool, and they tell you to not second guess yourself in multiple choice. Well, that's what I did here. My first answer was the right way to go, and I was able to do it. So now it's time to install the fans onto the radiator for the liquid cooler. I went with a push out configuration, in other words, an exhaust configuration, because I'm going to be placing this radiator at the top of the case, so I wanted to act as an exhaust. Speaking of exhaust, man, I'm getting exhausted narrating this video, but I really appreciate y'all. If y'all made it this far, please don't forget to leave a like, comment below, and hit that subscribe button if you want more videos like this. I may get some virtual boost for this, but I did use the pre-applied thermal paste. I didn't feel like applying a new coat, and I did not buy any extra. So I don't even gotta say it. You already know. You already know. Now we're getting into some dangerous territory in the video, and by that I mean a whole bunch of clips with my big ass head in the way. So I'm gonna do my best to clip those out. So here I'm plugging in the pump fan header from my liquid cooler onto the motherboard. Mine is labeled pump fan, yours may be labeled AIO fan, and there's also one labeled CPU fan, which I just went with the one that made the most sense. Since it's a pump fan, I wanted to plug it into the pump fan header. And then I went ahead and plugged in the 24 pin connector as well. Here's a rear view of me plugging in the fan RGB cable connectors onto the RGB hub that my liquid cooler came with, and it also has SATA cables for the RGB hub for power. So technically something else did go wrong, other than the fact that I was sent the wrong color cooler that wasn't even RGB. I tried to use this old 120mm Corsair fan from my old PC and it wouldn't fit. I even looked into the manual for my case, and it literally supports the exact same size fan. So I don't know what I did wrong, but I tried rotating it in different ways, but the screw holes did not align. This means I have way more intake fans than exhaust fans, so my case has a heavy flow. A heavy positive airflow, I mean. Upon request, the graphics card has demanded that it gets introduced with different music. In their words, they said, "On my mama, I'm different from these other niggas. They ain't fucking with me. I am him." So obviously we had to comply with that request. The graphics card also told me to keep this next clip in the video unedited. I told them I'd see what I can do, but I am now convinced that they listen to YoungBoy on repeat every morning, day and night.
Some niggas unbox Jordans, I unbox graphics card.
Unfortunately, I don't have the best angle of me installing the graphics card, but you're going to want to put it in one of your PCIe slots, which look like this. My biggest complaint with my power supply were the PCIe cables for the graphics card. The 8-pin connectors are split into two parts, one 6-pin connector and one 2-pin connector. So it was kind of awkward putting that all together for each 8-pin slot. And I know, sorry, more shots of my head all up in the way.
Gotta hide that big ass forehead.
Yo, chill, come on, it's only my first video. I'll get better at that, I promise. Here's everyone's favorite part, the cable management. Yeah, no, not really. This probably took the longest part of the entire build. So long, in fact, that my phone died while filming it. So here's 10 seconds of it anyway. Thank you everyone who watched my very first video on the channel. I really appreciate it. And I would appreciate it as well if you left a like, comment something down below that you liked about this video, or just your thoughts in general, or any tips for future tech or gamer related video ideas. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe. And if you'd like to buy any of the parts I use for my PC build, I'll leave links to those down in the description below. Also down below will be links to my other social media for you to follow me on those channels as well. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next one, and we out of here.